A defamation lawsuit has just been filed in New York by Diddy's sons, demanding that Jaguar Wright stop making accusations against them. They're targeting her for exposing their alleged involvement in Diddy's private parties and claiming they were responsible for bringing in underage guests. Now that Diddy's career is collapsing, his children seem to be going after everyone who tried to uncover his secrets, including 50 Cent, Jaguar Wright, and even Gan Deal. Many already believe that Diddy and his sons attended the same parties and took part in the same activities. But the question is, will this lawsuit be enough to silence Jaguar Wright? Or will she continue to speak out against Diddy?
Mine are saying that going after Piers Morgan was the right move instead of targeting Jaguar Wright. What do you think about that?
To me, if I'm being in that position, Paul, I'm going to say I need the truth told. I don't need her to ever be able to spread that again if it's a lie. I don't want to hear her say that. My kids got to hear it. People in business have to keep asking me. They didn't do anything to stop her from keep talking. And a lawsuit suing her would do that. And if they sued Piers instead of a cease and desist, then everyone would know that you could get sued for that. But when you just say sorry, it's the damage was already done.
We apologize to Jay-Z and Beyonce.
So if someone would say, yo, you could put up some craziness and just say sorry, then why wouldn't anybody else do that? That's the only recourse.
This isn't the first time someone has tried to silence Jaguar, and it probably won't be the last either. Just a few months ago, Jay-Z and Beyonce reportedly sent a cease and desist letter to Piers Morgan for airing an interview with Jaguar Wright, where she exposed their alleged ties to Diddy. According to Jaguar, all of these billionaires are working together to shut down anyone who might reveal their secrets. She was never sued directly because, as she claims, Jay-Z and Beyonce knew she could back up her statements if the matter ever reached court.
That happened in the R. Kelly case, because if that had been properly addressed, this would have been addressed back then. These people have been working together, all in cahoots for all of this time, and it needs to all be addressed. I'm glad it's not just me anymore. I'm glad it's someone else. I'm glad there are other people who need to be heard. I'll be sure. I'm glad they're hearing him. Cassie, I'm glad they're hearing her. Kim Porter. Through, I'll be sure. I'm glad. Natanya Rubin, I'm glad. All of these things. So yeah, it's mixed emotions, but I just know when you pray for something and God answers it, you should be happy.
Things have gotten so bad that Jaguar has become a target simply for speaking out. She's the one person who can directly link Jay-Z and Diddy together and come forward as an eyewitness to what really went on. And according to her, there's enough she knows that could potentially send both Diddy and Jay-Z to prison.
Happens with exposures. You make yourself vulnerable to all kinds of attacks, seen and unseen. What happened to my friend? When he passed away, there was $250,000 on my head and $150,000 on his. But what if I had decided to go back with my head held low and said, Sean, I'm willing to play the game, and then found a way to get inside of him and move him around?
Now with Diddy expected to be released in just 2 years, his children seem to be preparing for his return. According to Jaguar, it's not really their fault. They have no choice in the matter. She claims Diddy's kids are trapped with the devil as their father, and you can see it in their eyes that they don't want to be around him. While Diddy was reportedly in tears during his sentencing, his children were seen leaving the courtroom with smiles on their faces.
Why do you think Diddy's kids spoke out publicly?
What choice do they have?
Even I think one of the sons did a rap, and he's like,
What choice do they have? When you're dealing with the kind of narcissistic control freak that Diddy is, and you raise children under that, the financial abuse for all of them is probably the worst. because there's no way they can make money without him. He has them locked in. And if he falls, who's going to hire them? Who's going to fund them? Who's going to look out for them? No one.
Right.
No one. They're not fighting for their father. They're fighting for their survival. What they all gonna do? Go work? His reputation is tarnished. They're also being implicated in some of his crimes. They will be pariahs. They're gonna be worse off than OJ's kids.
So what's stopping any?
Like, did y'all hear what I just said?
Yeah, I frowned up. I was like, dang.
Does anybody think about what happened
to OJ's
to Nicole
kids?
Brown Simpson's children that she had with Orenthal James?
No one even talks about them. What happened?
It's like they don't even exist. And their lives are a lot more humble than they would have been.
Diddy reportedly forced his children to speak in his defense during the trial, believing it would be enough to clear his name. He walked into court confident that he'd be a free man, even going as far as scheduling speaking engagements in Miami for the following week. But none of that helped. He still ended up receiving a 4-year prison sentence. Now Diddy is said to be terrified of what might happen to him behind bars.
Diddy's children speak about their father at his sentencing hearing, and they honestly don't have a lot of time to say much, but they were given a little bit of time to say something. Quincy starts off by saying he's transformed. He will not jeopardize his freedom again. As his children, we wish to heal together. Next up is Diddy's son, Justin. I asked you to give my father a second chance. My father is my superhero. My father always told me to believe in God. Talk to my father every day, every other hour. Next is Christian Combs. I am the one who most resembles my pops, my mannerisms. My whole life I studied my dad up and down. He's the greatest man in the world, my superhero. He told me to treat women like a queen, and I do. I see in his eyes, as his twin, that he has changed. My name is Jessie Combs, and I am 18 years old, and she cries. When my mother passed away, I was just a little girl. I remember my dad sitting us down. It helped me survive when I just wanted my mom. My name is Chance Combs, his daughter. He's changed, and she starts crying. Sorry. He speaks with a clear mind. My name is Delilah Combs. We watch our 2-year-old sister. She cannot grow up fatherless. Honor, please. And she starts crying. Let us move forward, not as a headline, but as a family. The judge says,
Diddy didn't even glance at his children when the sentence was handed down. His tears appeared to be nothing more than a calculated attempt to earn sympathy before the verdict. His children, on the other hand, seemed completely unfazed. They walked out of the courtroom smiling, while Diddy was left on his knees, crying and pleading for his life.
He cried a lot today. When his children were just sobbing, you could tell he was on the verge of crying. When they were begging, please give my father a chance, please show my father mercy. And then he turned around, he told his kids he failed them, he cried, he turned on to his mom. He said, I failed you, Mom, I cried. He kind of just exasperatedly put his head in his hands. So by the time all of that had played out and we got to the reading of the arguments or the rationale why Judge Submaranian imposed the sentence of 4 years and 2 months, he was saying things like, the statute requires a significant sentence. This evidence was massive in terms of the coercion. So when family members started to see it was going down that road, the children were stone-faced when the verdict was read. He was stone-faced. The only person who really showed emotion was Dana Tran, the mother of his youngest child. She could see it coming. She just started burying her head in her hands. So this is done. This is over. Obviously, we can expect an appeal in this case. We'll have to see what happens, where what prison he will be assigned to when he is released from MDC. But I just cannot underestimate how dense this was, because his attorneys moved from making legal arguments to making personal pleas. Even Nicole Westmoreland, a high-powered attorney from Atlanta, She started off saying what he had done for the Black community, how he broke barriers in hip-hop and hip-hop clothing, and in brand partnership with his spirits industry. Then she started to speak about how he personally inspired her. She got emotional, never seen a defense attorney pretty much cry or sob or be so emotionally raw.
The only reason Diddy's family is still standing by him, according to reports, is because they're all tied up in the same allegations. His son Justin was even named in a lawsuit alongside him. It's been clear from the beginning that Diddy wasn't acting alone, but finding out that his own son may have helped him is deeply disturbing. This brings us to some of the serious claims made against Justin Combs. Back in February, producer Rodney Jones, better known as Lil Rod, filed a civil lawsuit against Diddy. In that detailed suit, Lil Rod specifically named Justin Combs, describing him as someone who allegedly solicited underage girls and workers. The lawsuit even includes a photo showing Justin with a girl claimed to be underage. In one particular instance, Lil Rod alleges that an underage girl attended a listening party at Diddy's home, where a former employee was also reportedly solicited and a freak-off took place. On that same night, Lil Rod claims Diddy forced him to take a drink that had been laced, causing him to feel dizzy before blacking out. He says he woke up around 4 a.m. naked beside a sex worker. Justin Combs is officially listed as a defendant in the case because, according to Lil Rod, he not only helped facilitate Diddy's alleged RICO operation, but also participated in it at times.
Chaotic scenes as Diddy's family came to court to support him at his sentencing.
How you feeling today, Mama?
His mother, Janice, was followed by his son, Quincy, and 3 daughters who entered court hand in hand. Another son and his girlfriend were also there to show their support.
Jaguar has been the one pulling back the curtain on all these allegations, determined to show the world how deeply Diddy's influence runs. She claims that Diddy is the reason Justin and Quincy turned out the way they did, saying he molded them into reflections of himself, that he turned his own sons into monsters.
Kim's sons. I'm so grateful that she doesn't have to witness any of this. Because this probably would have killed him.
Stopping
any white Christian under scrutiny, Quincy being mocked and scorned, the girls now being implicated into home in the SA with their father by a girl who worked the white parties. Like, this is a lot. And they didn't choose it. They were born into this. I don't think anybody's paying attention to that. The choice that they got. If that man calls and say, I need you to do this, I need you to do that, what else are they going to do? They gotta bet on him. I'm sure they're all praying he makes it, because if not, what are they going to do? And they definitely can't count on Grandma Janice. They're screwed. One way or the other, they're screwed.
So there's no escape for them.
How?
50 Cent even brought all of this up in his letter to the judge before Diddy's sentencing. In that letter, he urged the court not to release Diddy, warning that his sons were involved in similar crimes. Toward the end, 50 wrote that if Diddy were set free, both he and his sons would go right back to their old ways, repeating the same behavior all over again.
Moranian. Now, he posts this as a text message. I don't know if this was a text message to his lawyer, where maybe he was instructing his lawyer to write this letter to the judge. If you don't know, the judge is accepting letters in the case of the sentencing of Sean P. Diddy Combs, who's set to be sentenced tomorrow. And 50 Cent decided to write his letter to the judge as well. If you don't know, At this point, I think it's abundantly clear that 50 Cent is the baby father of the child that belongs to not only 50, but the woman that is identified as Jane Doe. That woman, I think we now know, is Daphne Joy. So Daphne Joy's baby daddy is 50 Cent. So maybe there's a reason and there's some relevance here for 50 to have somewhat of a letter being sent to the judge. Why? Well, one of the two victims, or the main two victims, which is victim one, we all know is Cassie, but victim two is known as Daphne Joy. Who's Daphne Joy's baby father? 50 Cent. So he writes a letter and he says, "Dear Judge Summarian, I've had an ongoing dispute with Puffy for over 20 years. He's very dangerous. Multiple times I have feared for my life. I think you should consider the safety of the general public, Your Honor, before unleashing him upon them. There hasn't been enough time for him to reform or make any adjustments, despite his trying to teach a class in there." This is how you know he actually wrote this. This is bad grammar. Despite him trying to teach a class in there. As you're already aware, the government has spent maximum amount of money on deploying federal agencies, which appear to be an army, in 2 locations simultaneously. Later, his sons, who's dealing with his own R-word allegations, claimed that the feds had hit the wrong house. Anyway, Diddy's only going to return to hiring more male sex workers and keep most of the baby oil away from the general public, and babies need it. My Netflix doc on this scandalous subject is coming soon.
50 wasn't just referring to Justin. Diddy's other son, Christian, has also been named in disturbing allegations. According to court documents, Christian was accused of assaulting a 26-year-old woman named Grace Omar K. Grace filed a lawsuit claiming that Christian assaulted and violated her during one of Diddy's yacht parties. She says she initially believed the trip would be a wholesome family vacation, but it quickly turned into what she described as a hedonistic environment filled with rampant drug use among guests and celebrities. Grace also claimed that the alcohol on board appeared to be laced with drugs, because women would have a single drink and then suddenly pass out or lose control. This matches other accusations made in Lil Rod's lawsuit, which alleged that members of Diddy's circle would spike people's drinks. As for that particular night, Grace stated that Christian had been staying at a villa near the shore, but joined the yacht in the evening to party. On the 28th of December 2022, he allegedly arrived heavily intoxicated and pressured her to take shots of tequila. After she agreed, he reportedly tried to get her to drink even more inside the yacht's makeshift studio. There's also another controversy involving Diddy's sons and Kim Porter's unreleased memoir. Diddy's children filed a lawsuit to block its publication as the book reportedly contained sensitive details about Diddy's operations and mentions who was involved in helping him. The only people trying to stop this book from being released are his children, who allegedly also want a share of the profits. A man named Mr. Burgess claims he owns the rights to a book supposedly based on Kim Porter's memoir. According to TMZ, the Fed seized his phone, and investigators found a flash drive containing material related to the manuscript. Christian and Quincy Combs, Diddy and Kim Porter's sons, with Quincy being Diddy's adopted son, have been fighting back. They sent Burgess a cease and desist letter demanding he stop selling the book, arguing that he's only trying to profit off their mother's name. They also claim to legally own her intellectual property, including any diaries or manuscripts, and want an official accounting of the book's sales. While they deny the existence of a real memoir, this isn't the first time they've fought against a similar project. They previously shut down another book, published on Amazon by Chris Todd, insisting that their mother would never have written such a thing. Essentially, their position is that, if any such memoir exists, they own the rights to it. Throughout all of this, prosecutors have alleged that Diddy used his family to pressure victims during his trial. Several reports stated that he personally contacted victims, and that his family also reached out on his behalf to influence their testimony. As a result of that pressure, multiple victims reportedly refused to testify, and one even sent a letter to the judge declaring Diddy's innocence.
So do you think this is more of a win for the defense then?
Diddy's sentence came as a shock to many. After reportedly terrorizing women for more than 2 decades, he's only been given 2 years behind bars, a punishment many believe doesn't come close to fitting the severity of his alleged crimes. Legal experts have also expressed surprise, saying that given the nature of the accusations, Diddy should have faced a much longer sentence.
a, quote, wholesome family excursion, but says it, quote, turned into a hedonistic environment, even describing rampant drug use amongst workers and celebrities who came on board. She believes that the alcohol on the yacht had been laced with drugs because she says women would have one drink and then almost immediately pass out or start falling over. This is, by the way, something that it was also alleged in Jones's lawsuit, that Combs would spike the drinks of different people. But focusing on Christian Combs, well, Markey says that Christian Combs had been staying at a villa on the shore, but that he would come onto the yacht in the evening to party. And on December 28, 2022, Christian reportedly arrived very intoxicated and then proceeded to pressure Markey to take shots of tequila. She did. Christian allegedly tried to get her to drink more in the yacht's makeshift studio.
Jean Deal said the same thing, that Diddy is incredibly lucky to have gotten off so easily. After everything he's been accused of, serving only 2 years feels like getting away with it.
Here is the other thing with Mr. Burgess. He apparently says he owns the rights to a book that was reportedly based on the alleged memoir of Kim Porter. In fact, according to TMZ, Burgess' phone was seized by the feds, and on it was a copy of a flash drive with material that was used in this book. Here's the problem. Christian and Quincy Combs, these are the sons of Diddy and Kim Porter. Quincy's actually adopted by Diddy. But they are reportedly fighting back, and they have sent Burgess a cease and desist letter to prevent the further sale of this book. They argue this is just an attempt to capitalize on Porter's fame and that they own the rights to her IP, her intellectual property, like her diary entries, her potential manuscript. As her heirs, they own it. And they also want an accounting of current sales of the book. To be clear, though, they aren't acknowledging that there is, in fact, a long-lost memoir from their mother. In fact, they've actually denied that before when there was a similar book, a derivative work, we'll talk about that, published by this guy named Chris Todd on Amazon. They were adamantly fighting against that. They said that their mother wouldn't write this. But what they're basically saying is if something should exist, they own it.
Several judges and legal experts have expressed shock over the short length of Diddy's sentence. There were reportedly more than a dozen witnesses and multiple videos showing him being violent and abusive. Even on the day of his arrest, he was allegedly involved in one of his so-called freak-off sessions, and authorities recovered guns and drugs from the scene. Despite all this evidence, many believe Diddy is still being allowed to walk away almost scot-free.
New details this morning in the sex trafficking case against Sean Diddy Combs. Prosecutors now claiming that from behind bars, Combs has been trying to reach out to victims and possible witnesses. And ABC's Phil Lipoff is here now with this story. Good morning, Phil.
Good morning, Gio. Diddy's lawyers trying for a third time to get him out on bail, but this time, the prosecution telling the judge about attempts they say the rap mogul made from behind bars to influence everyone from potential jury to alleged victims.
This morning, prosecutors leveling new accusations against Sean Diddy Combs, saying he poses a serious risk of danger even from behind bars as he awaits trial. In a court filing late Friday, prosecutors detailing the steps they say Combs is taking while locked up to reach out to prospective witnesses and influence public opinion to affect potential jurors.
The accusations within the prosecution's motion to deny bail are very serious and will be considered very heavily by the judge because the judge is going to want to ensure that he is not influencing witnesses and or contacting anyone to influence the trial in any way.
Combs has pleaded not guilty to charges of racketeering, transportation to engage in prostitution, and trafficking. He denies any wrongdoing. The government now asking a judge not to grant Combs' third request for bail, in which the music mogul offers a $50 million bail package citing new evidence and changed circumstances.
Diddy and his sons aren't targeting Jaguar Wright just because of what she says about them personally, but because of what she knows about the industry as a whole. Diddy was only the first domino to fall, and if voices like Jaguar's keep speaking out, many other big-name celebrities could face exposure as well. Jaguar has worked closely with Beyonce and seen J-Lo up close, and she claims to know all of their hidden secrets.
This was a very long sentencing hearing, which Sean Combs himself, once larger than life, was left begging for mercy, standing at the defense table, telling the judge that he's a changed man, apologizing for his behavior. But that request for a lenient sentence of time served was rejected by the judge, Arun Subramanian, who said it was insufficient to send the kind of message that he wanted to send, that violence against women must be met with real accountability. And so he sentenced Sean Combs to 4 years in prison. That's not as much as federal prosecutors here wanted. They wanted 11 years in prison, reminding the judge that Sean Combs has a penchant for violence.
Diddy may be behind bars, but the real story is far from over. His sons are filing lawsuits, witnesses are vanishing, and Jaguar Wright says she's ready to reveal even more names. The question now is, who will be exposed next? Stay tuned and make sure you're subscribed, because the next chapter in the Diddy saga promises to shock everyone.
Because he only had to do 85% in the feds, and he goes to probably a halfway house. So he got off like a fat rat in a cheese factory. But for a dude like Diddy going to jail and spending all that time, you know, I'm not saying it's going to be rough or nothing like that, because his former president of Bad Boy, Kirk Burrows, with the federal jail. You understand? Lil' Kim with the federal jail. So, you know, because the type of dude he is, you know, he'll make it, he'll be all right. And plus they gonna send him to a camp, bruh. He'll be in somebody camp or somebody dormitory, whereas that it'll be real light for him. So, you know, he'll see the streets back again in 24 months. He'll be out within 2 years. It seems like a lot saying 50 months and everything like that, but it's not really a lot, not at all, bro. It's not a lot at all.
What is your reaction to the sentencing? Do you think that this was a fair sentence?
I think it was a very fair sentence. And I think it's a good sentence for Diddy. I mean, if we go back to where this started, you know, with the racketeering and the trafficking, I mean, had he been convicted on those, he's looking at life potentially. So as well as an asset forfeiture of his businesses and his monies and things like that. So had this gone south, it could have really been devastating, completely taken the liberation of his life, of his freedom and his businesses. So where are we now? You know, we're looking at 50 months, which is less than what the prosecution wanted, which is less than what the sentencing guidelines were. So the judge even came in below that. And so if in light of everything that he was facing from the very beginning, even to now, it's really a good deal for him.
So do you think this is more of a win for the defense then?
I think it's more of a win for the defense. There was no chance he was going to get 14 months. That would have been off the table. What happened here really was, you know, even though sentences for these types of crimes could have been a little bit less, the violence that the judge commented on earlier really, I think, made an impression on the judge. And that's what exacerbated the sentence.
You said the judge is going to look at everything else that came out in that courtroom, and the sentencing will be related to that. So you were right. Were you surprised at the 50 months?
Well, I was surprised it wasn't more, quite frankly. Based on the prosecutors wanted 11 years. The judge, as we know, said he would be considering things outside of the conviction. Mm-hmm. And so and wouldn't give him $1 million bond. Or I think later he offered $50 million and you wouldn't give him a bond. So no, I thought he was going to bring the hammer down a little harder. But 4 years, 5 years is 5 years, 4 years and 2 months rather.
Right, because there is 14 months time served. Mm-hmm. So you're looking at about maybe 3 years?
Yes.
3 years. Now, what they're saying, now, I don't know if this is true or not. What's that?
The 1 year off, or 1.4, I'm sorry, year and 4 months, as you just said.
Exactly, yeah. 14 months of time served.
Mm-hmm.
So, but if he qualifies for the RDAP program, which is a residential drug abuse program, he could potentially get like 6 months off, maybe a little bit more off, some halfway house situations.